Well, hello, welcome again to our reading of Lysias. I'm reading through on the murder of Eratosthenes, and I finished last time at the beginning of section 36. So, hois humas axio ten auten gnomein echein. I think it right, I deem it right for you to have the same opinion, the same viewpoint with them, the hois. I think it's referring back to the earlier section here, so it's referring back to the lawgivers. So I think it right that you should have the same opinion as them. Adime, otherwise, and we get a rather funny argument here, poiesity, you will make such a lack of fear, so perhaps indemnity, or it's almost encouragement, so you will give such encouragement, give such lack of fear to the adulterers, so that you'll give them such lack of fear, so that, and then epaireti, this is from epairo, this is the future, to incite, perhaps, to stir up, to encourage, also, or even thieves, fascain, it's that lovely verb formed from fami, it's the root from fami, and then they use the iterative sk, and it's used of the sense of maintain or claim something that generally is not true. So you will stir them up to such an extent, so that you will incite even thieves to claim that they are adulterers. You edotas hoti, knowing well that eantauten tenaition perihiaton legosi, kai epituto fascosin es to alatrias oikias eis ianai udes auton hapsatai. That if, so knowing well that if they say, or they make this accusation regarding themselves, and they claim that for this reason, that is on the grounds of committing adultery, they had entered into, from eis ianai, into other people's houses, no one will touch them. So it's a rather slightly spurious argument here. He's saying that if you ignore these laws of adultery, then house breakers, when they're caught breaking into a house, they'll simply say, oh no, I was here to commit adultery and you can't do anything to me. Pantes gar eis ontai hotitus menomus tes oikeas kairen ean dei, ten dipsephon, ten humeteron de dienai. For everyone, now eis ontai is the middle future from oida. So for everyone will know that, now we get a day, it is necessary. Now this is idiomatic here, kairein ean. It's literally to allow, to farewell. And so it has the sense of to disregard, to dismiss. It's a bit like our sarcastic expression to say bye-bye to, is probably a similar idea here. So I'm going to translate it as disregard or dismiss. So for all will know that it is necessary to dismiss the law, on the one hand, to dismiss the laws of adultery, and then we get a de, balancing the men, but, and we've got to supply de again, but it's almost in fact, it is necessary for them understood, de dienai, to fear your vote. De dienai is an infinitive, it's that kenai ending without the kappa. It's formed from an old verb dedia, meaning to fear, to be frightened of. And it's a perfect in form but present in meaning, and we're getting here a perfect infinitive here. And we have to supply de from the previous bit. So for everyone will know that it is necessary to disregard the laws of adultery, but it is necessary to fear your vote. Hautega esti panton ton inter poli curiotate. For this is, that is, your vote, ten psephon, this is neuter, for that thing, your vote, is curiotate, the most binding, the most authoritative of all the things in the city. We get a superlative there. Skepsas the de oandres categorusigamu hos ego ten therapainein enekene tehemera metelthane ekeliusaton nianiskon. Now sections 37 to 42 give a refutation of the charge of entrapment. So there are two issues here. It appears that his enemies are claiming that he got the servant girl specifically to invite Eratosthenes over on that night so that Euphiletos could kill him. Euphiletos seems to be saying that no, it doesn't matter what means I got him there in the first place, but no, he just happened to be there because he was coming to my place all the time to commit adultery with my wife. And so he doesn't really deny it as such, but it's a little bit funny here that as to whether or not he actually sent for Eratosthenes. He claims he didn't, but it's a slightly moot point here. It's very odd that the speaker doesn't mention the slave girl by name. She's just the therapainon, whom Eratosthenes used as a procuress, and nowhere in the speech does he offer her up for investigation. So she herself is not cross-examined, or at least called to give evidence. So there may be more to the story than the speaker is prepared to say, and unfortunately we don't have the other speech of his enemies, only his defence. So look carefully, gentlemen, for they make the accusation of me, categorio takes a genitive, that I, on that night, that I bid the servant girl Metelthane to summon ton nianiskon, that's the young man, i.e. Eratosthenes. He doesn't use his name, he just calls him nianiskon, the young man. Ego de o andres dikaion men an poien hegumen. But I, O gentlemen of the jury, and this is a complicated bit here, I think, I would think it to have, or rather I would think myself to be acting justly. I would think myself to be acting justly, and then we get a participle, taking, and hoeti niun. This is from hostis. It's a dative, and we get ho and tini in the dative plus the un in whatever way at all, by whatever means at all. So I would have thought that I was acting justly, taking or getting my hands on by any means whatsoever the one who was corrupting my wife. And then we get this long parenthesis here, which doesn't finish till down here, and there's a semicolon here. So just to do that bit there, so I would have regarded it, I would have thought that I was acting justly. Dikaion, I think, is probably adverbial there. Catching, lambanon, catching the man who was corrupting my wife by whatever means at all. And then in parentheses, amen, and we're going to get a de here. So we get another de in between, but this is just a normal but. The amen goes with the a de. And we get a genitive absolute here, in fact two genitive absolutes. So if words having been spoken, having been said, but the no deed having taken place, I had bid understand the servant girl to fetch him, I would have done wrong. So just to paraphrase that a little bit, take it in a slightly different order. So if only words had been spoken, but no deed had been done, and I bid the servant girl to fetch him, Adikun, I would have done wrong. Ade, but if already panton dia pepragmenon, all things having been achieved, in other words, he had already had his way, and him oftentimes es Euphiletos, this is again a participle here, genitive participle, perfect, from the perfect form from es erchomai, and him often having come into my house, if I got my hands on him by whatever means at all, I would have, someone's put in an an here to balance it, I would have thought myself so pronoun to have acted wisely or reasonably or appropriately for this so pronoun. So they're the two, this is his argument here. If there'd only been hearsay and nothing had actually taken place, and I sent her off to get him, then I would have done wrong. But if he had if all things had already at that stage been accomplished, and he had often come into my house, then I got my hands on him by whatever means at all, I would have thought myself to be sopronon, or perhaps to have acted appropriately or reasonably. So he's not at this point necessarily denying that he sent the girl off to get Eratosthenes in, although he seems to imply that a little bit later on. It's a bit of a moot point here because it's one of the main arguments, I think, of what his enemies are going to say. Skepsas there, de hoti kaitauta pseudonta. But look carefully that also in respect of these things they lie. Here's where he now tries to say that he did not purposely send the girl off. Ektondi, from the following things, easily, gnosis there, you will know this. So you will easily know this from what follows. Emoiga, O Andres, hope kai proteron apon, philos on sostratus kai orcheos diakemenos, apantesis exagru periheliodousmas sun edapne, kai apede kalazakin auto apion oikato. So, for, O gentlemen of the jury, the very thing which also I said before, I said previously, so just as I said before, so Stratus, being a friend to me, and oikeos diakaimenos, being disposed as almost as a friend of the house, so a personal friend. So being a close personal friend, I think you translate that as. Apontesas, he having met, understand me, coming understood from the farm, around sunset, around the settings of the sun, he began to dine with me, or he was dining with me. And when, we saw this idiom before, literally it was good for him, so when he'd had what we might say an elegant sufficiency, apion, going off, he went. So he had gone, having departed. Departing, he had gone. Kaitoi proton meno andres enthume te. And we're going to get square brackets hottie here. So, moreover, first of all, gentlemen of the jury, this is something like ask yourself. So think about it. That, and the rest of this now is a question. So think about this, that if on that night I was plotting against, from epibuleuo, if I was plotting against Eratosthenes, it's something like, do you think, we get Potteron and we get A. So was it Kraton, was it better for me to dine, Deipnein, auto with him, heterothe, in a different place, or was it, understand, better for me to bring him inside, or to bring the one being about to dine with me inside? So we get a future participle here. So which was better? It's all a question. Was it better for me to dine with him somewhere else, or to bring inside the one who was about to dine with me? Hutoga en heton etolme senekenos eis elthenes tenoikean. So for in that case, in that case, Ekanos, that's referring to Eratosthenes, he would have dared the lesser. So he would not have been quite so daring as to enter into the house. Now, Eitadokko an humin ton sundepnunta aphes monos catalephthenai es akai eremos genes thy ekeluena ekenon menai hinamet emu ton moikon et timoreto. And again, this is a question. So then, literally, do I seem good to you? So does it seem, we'd probably put it into the impersonal, does it seem good to you? But it's actually, do I seem to you? Do I seem, or does it seem better? And it's an an here again as well. So would I appear to you better? Aphes, from aphiemi, having dismissed the one that was dining with me. So do I seem to you to be left alone, from catalambano, catalapo I should say, this is the aorist infinitive. Does it seem right to you for me to be left alone, having dismissed the one who was dining with me, and to be eremos, or perhaps not desolate, but perhaps unsupported, to be alone, or to have bid him, that is, Sostratus, his friend, Menai, to have remained, hina, in order that he might get vengeance on the adulterer, met emu, with me. So his argument here is, this is, why would I have invited this guy in to dine with me if I knew that Eratosthenes was, if I was trying to encourage Eratosthenes to come to the house? And secondly, why would I send this guy off and leave myself alone and unarmed, rather than bid him to stay and to assist me in getting vengeance on the adulterer? That is the sense of this section. And that's the up to the end of section 40.